What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of the JT Sports Podcast. I'm your host, JT. The post-June 1st release deadline in the NFL. It's the last chaos day of the offseason. If you are a content creator, you're very familiar with the term they phrase this part of the NFL offseason as the dead season, since after today, there won't be that much news to react to. There won't be that much going on. And the NFL blessed us today on the last chaos day of the 2026 offseason. I wake up this morning, I see JPA posting rumors about how the Eagles, the Cowboys, and the Rams are all trying to acquire Myles Garrett in a trade with the Browns. And I'm like, man, it's no way they're finna trade Myles Garrett. They always say they're going to trade him every year, but he always ends up picking the bag over the ring. Well, an hour later, Adam Scheffler reports breaking. Myles Garrett, who just broke the NFL single-season sack record, the two-time Defensive Player of the Year, is getting traded to the Los Angeles Rams in exchange for Jared Verse. And I was like, I couldn't believe my eyes. Out of all places, he gets sent to the team that already was the leading favorite to win the Super Bowl. I guess the rich just get richer, and the Rams, with the acquisition of Myles Garrett, just became the NFL's final boss. We'll break down this trade, what it means for the Rams, what it means for the rest of the NFL. Can anybody stop the LA Rams from winning the Super Bowl? Should we just go ahead and prematurely hand them the Lombardi Trophy? Myles Garrett wasn't the only player on the move today. Finally, we can close the chapter on the A.J. Brown Philadelphia Eagles saga. Is he going to get traded? Is he going to remain a Philadelphia Eagle? He is officially a member of the New England Patriots. Got thoughts on that? OBJ is going to be back playing in the Big Blue at MetLife for the New York Giants. We'll dive into what his reunion with the Giants means. DJ Moore, I have some thoughts about what he's going to do with the Bills this season. Not a lot of people really are expecting much out of him. Ring culture is the most toxic thing in the NFL right now. I got a little bit of some ranting to do about that. I got my pick for the NFL's comeback player of the year. I'll give you all a hint. It's not Joe Burrow. And then there's a certain quarterback battle going on where you have a guy whose career took a huge fall off, and now he's in better shape than ever. He might not be finished. We'll dive into it all. If you haven't already, smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, hit that bell icon if you're new so you do not miss when we drop new content. We're talking all things football, NFL, college football, 24/7, 365 days throughout the year. Get your daily football fix in by smashing the like button, subscribing to the channel, and hitting that bell icon so you get notified every time we drop new content. Shout out to everybody that's tuned in. Shout out to my guy, Sideline Scoop. Shout out to everybody wherever you're watching, man. I hope you're having a great June 1st, and I cannot wait to dive into it. Let's get started. There are certain teams that when you look at their roster in the offseason, you just get that feeling that they're going to win it all. And I know it's too premature right now to crown a Super Bowl champion in the month of June. The game's still got to get played. There's still going to be some rosters that do a few more moving around, or a few more teams that add a little bit more talent. But for the most part, you know, the Rams are one of those teams that, unless something catastrophic happens, they will be playing in the Super Bowl this year. I felt this way about the Philadelphia Eagles when they won the Super Bowl in 2024. A lot of us had this same feeling about the Seahawks in 2013, the Patriots in 2007. Even though they didn't win it, you knew they at least were going to get there. The Rams, by trading for Myles Garrett, look like the NFL's final boss. Last season, the Rams got offended by being close. They lost to Seattle in the NFC Championship game. It was a hard-fought game, a game that could have went either way. And the Rams this season essentially are loading up for what should be Matthew Stafford's last ride. If the Rams go all the way, he goes out on top, I feel he's going to retire, even though he just agreed to a new extension. I feel he's going to go out like how John Elway did. And by getting Myles Garrett, you further double down on trying to maximize what you have left with Matthew Stafford. And what's so impressive about what the Rams did this offseason is that not only did they address their needs, but they weaponized what they needed. They didn't just say, okay, we need to improve at corner, we need to get another pass rusher. They said, not only are we going to improve, but we're going to make sure that we fill those needs with some of the best players in the NFL at those respective positions. They already got Trent McDuffie, who's a former All-Pro. They got another cornerback that was a really solid starter for the Chiefs. And now you replace Jared Verse, who was a solid player, and you upgrade by bringing in a guy who just broke the NFL single-season sack record, who's been one of the best defensive players that I've ever seen in my entire lifetime. The Rams didn't just fill holes this offseason. They turned weaknesses into not just strengths, but X factors that are going to help them win the Super Bowl this year. Myles Garrett, what he brings to the Rams defense that they were lacking last season was a fourth quarter closer. Myles Garrett is that guy that can get Sam Darnold off the field if the Seahawks are trying to drive downfield for a game-winning drive. If you're looking for somebody that can call game for you on defense, Myles Garrett is going to be that guy for the Los Angeles Rams. He is going to bring a presence to this LA Rams defense that they were lacking when Aaron Donald retired. And I think it's fair to put Myles Garrett in the same breath as Aaron Donald, since these are probably two of the best defensive players of the last decade. You get Myles Garrett, you get Trent McDuffie, and everything else that you have on that side of the football already, you should have not just one of the best offenses in the NFL, but one of the best defenses in the NFL. Without a doubt, we know why this trade was made. Super Bowl or bust. Anything less than a Super Bowl championship for the Rams would be considered a catastrophic disappointment. You have, to me right now, what looks to be one of the best teams in NFL history. The Rams had Matthew Stafford fresh off winning MVP last year. Puka's in his prime. Davante Adams is still playing very good football. Sean McVay is still as good as he's ever been as a head coach and a play caller. You add Myles Garrett to the mix now. Worst case scenario for the Rams, they're a 12-13 win team. Best case scenario, everything goes right. You're looking at a team that probably wins 15, 16. Maybe there's a probability that they could go 17-0. There's nobody in the NFC, and their division especially, that can match what the Rams have done this offseason. And this is the last point that I'm going to make about this trade, right? I feel the 49ers got exposed by the Rams trading for Myles Garrett. You see, the issue with the 49ers that has them playing third fiddle behind the Seahawks and the Rams, while Kyle Shanahan has yet to win a Lombardi despite being on the job longer than Sean McVay and Mike McDonald, is that it's not as if the 49ers don't do nothing, but they don't do enough in terms of adding players that are really going to push the needle in terms of them being able to win the Super Bowl. You look at how the Rams and the Seahawks roster are constructed compared to the 49ers. The 49ers have good players, but they don't have as many great players, as many high-end level players as what the Seahawks and the Rams do. The Rams are more aggressive in acquiring high-level players via trade than what the 49ers are. Trading for Christian McCaffrey a few years ago was probably the most aggressive move that John Lynch has made as the 49ers general manager in terms of acquiring talent. The Rams, they've already gone after guys like Jalen Ramsey, now Myles Garrett. They say F those picks. We're going to go after the most proven commodities available that can benefit us the most. The Seahawks don't have to be as aggressive as what the Rams are in terms of trading for high-level players, since They draft a lot of high-level players in the draft. Nick Imawari, one of the best DBs in the league as a rookie last season, was a second-round pick. A lot of the best players on the Seahawks were guys that they drafted that weren't necessarily premium first-round picks, but they were guys that they got in the mid-days, later parts of the draft. The 49ers, they're not as aggressive as what the Rams are when it comes to trading for high-level players, and they don't draft as well as what the Seahawks do. So they're kind of in that middle line of you're good enough to be in the conversation to win the Super Bowl, but you're not talented enough with high-level players to where I view you as a bigger Super Bowl threat than what I view the Seahawks and the Rams at the moment. Sure, you added Mike Evans in free agency. You traded for Ozzie Odigizua. Those are good moves. But are those moves moving the needle as much as the Rams trading for Myles Garrett does? The Rams trading for Trent McDuffie does? It's just the Rams take more bigger swings. They're more aggressive going all in than what the 49ers seem to be. And I don't think the 49ers are a bad organization. I don't think necessarily their Super Bowl window has closed entirely, but I don't think they take enough risks. They don't take enough dice rolls, and that's why they currently find themselves third place in the NFC West as far as being able to win the championship goes, behind Sean McVay and Mike Macdonald. If you're new and you haven't subscribed yet, what you waiting for, man? We're talking all things football, NFL, college football, 24/7, 365 days throughout the year. If you live, eat, breathe, sleep, and die football, this is the place to be. Make sure that you smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on all post notifications so you can get your daily football fix in. Also, if you don't want the starting quarterback for your favorite team this year to play like Jamarcus Russell, do yourself, yours truly, and your favorite team a favor. Rate the JT Sports Podcast 5 stars wherever you get your podcast from. Apple, Spotify. We are trying to crack the top 100 of the Apple Football Podcast charts. We cannot do that without you joining the team. The links are down in description down below. It only takes less than 10 seconds to do. Helps us out a lot. So if you enjoy the content, you want to support us, and you don't want the starting quarterback for your favorite team to stink it up like Jamarcus Russell this year, go ahead, rate JT Sports 5 stars wherever you get your podcast from. We're available. Let's move on. The most poisonous thing to the NFL over the last few years has been the toxicity of what is ring culture. Ring culture has made NFL discourse unbearable. You can't compare who's the better quarterback, who's more talented quarterback without somebody throwing rings in your face. You're not taking Jalen Hurts over Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, or Joe Burrow because those guys don't have rings and Jalen Hurts does. That's like saying you're taking Trent Dilfer over Dan Marino because Trent Dilfer won a ring and Dan Marino didn't. Winning a Super Bowl is a team accomplishment. One player cannot carry a team by himself to a Lombardi trophy. You got to have good coaches, good teammates, and a bunch of other factors to help you win a Super Bowl. I think that the casual NFL fan doesn't understand how difficult it is to win a Super Bowl. There's only been 2 players in the history of the NFL that by themselves have meant more to their team's championship success than any other player that ever played this game. That being Tom Brady and Patrick Mahomes. Tom Brady and Patrick Mahomes, in my opinion, are the 2 top quarterbacks in NFL history because those guys by themselves have been able to elevate their team past what they should have been able to do with the supporting cast that they have because of how great they are. Tom Brady has the most Super Bowl rings out of any NFL quarterback in history because he was the system. He was the Patriots way. And that was proven to be true when his first year in Tampa, he left New England and took them to the Super Bowl. Patrick Mahomes has been dominating the AFC. He's been running amok on the NFL for over the last decade. He has more Super Bowls than anybody else throughout this time span. So Tom Brady and Patrick Mahomes are in a completely different class than everybody else as far as all-time quarterbacks go, because those guys were the system. No matter how bad their supporting cast might have been, in big moments and crunch time and clutch situations, those guys always stepped up, elevated their game, and elevated everybody that was around them. But even those guys still needed Hall of Fame offensive linemen, Hall of Fame players on defense, Hall of Fame wide receivers, and Hall of Fame coaches. Tom Brady wouldn't have been the GOAT if it wasn't for Bill Belichick and those great defenses that he put on the field for Brady. Patrick Mahomes wouldn't be the second greatest quarterback in NFL history if he didn't, luckily enough, fall to the Kansas City Chiefs and fall in the hands of Andy Reid, one of the greatest offensive minds that ever coached this game. No matter how great of a player you are, you still need the right situation to win a Super Bowl. You need good head coaches, good coordinators, a good offensive line, good defense, a dependable kicker. You need to be healthy at the right time. There are a lot of things that have to line up for a team to go the distance outside of a quarterback playing well. Lamar Jackson is the guy who gets punished the most by ring culture, because Lamar Jackson, despite him being the most talented quarterback to ever put his hands on a football, how talented he is, his legacy gets diminished because he doesn't have a Super Bowl ring. Yet this guy is a 3-time first-team All-Pro, a 2-time MVP, should be a 3-time MVP, but yet how great he is, the fact that he's a trailblazer and he has completely evolutionized the quarterback position. Since he doesn't have a ring, how good he is doesn't matter. How talented he is defined by his championship success. Lamar Jackson doesn't need a ring to prove that he's a more talented player than Jalen Hurts. He doesn't need a ring to prove that he's the most talented quarterback in NFL history. If we're just talking about pure talent alone, you can't tell me there's another quarterback that runs 4-2 that's throwing the football on the Aaron Rodgers level of efficiency like Lamar Jackson. You don't need a ring to prove that. Rings do not define talent. Rings are more so a legacy argument. If Lamar retires without a ring, it does hurt his legacy. We can't put him in the same conversation as Mahomes or Tom Brady. But same thing goes for Josh Allen and Joe Burrow. They need rings to legitimize their legacy, but they don't need rings to prove how talented they are. Same thing goes for Kyle Shanahan. Kyle Shanahan gets judged by a different standard than every other head coach in the league because he doesn't have a Super Bowl. So there are people who would tell you Kyle Shanahan isn't a top 5 coach, would name other coaches over him being top 5, even though they don't have as much playoff success or they don't have Super Bowls. But since Kyle Shanahan has been to the Super Bowl 2 times and lost to Patrick Mahomes, the boogeyman, that's used as a knock against Kyle Shanahan. The standard that Kyle Shanahan is judged on is unfair because we don't hold Kyle Shanahan to the same standard that we criticize these other coaches on. We criticize Kyle Shanahan for a standard that we don't judge him along with other fellow NFL coaches on. You're not judging John Harbaugh, Nick Sirianni, Dan Campbell, or any other coach the same way you would judge Kyle Shanahan. Your expectations, the way that you perceive Kyle Shanahan, is a lot higher than any other coach that hasn't been to a Super Bowl yet, because Kyle Shanahan has proven that he can get you there. He just can't win once he gets there. So the fact that he's gotten there and has gone 0-2 is used as an indictment against him when you're comparing him against the rest of his contemporaries, which is absolutely BS. Kyle Shanahan has been to not just multiple Super Bowls, but he's been to multiple NFC championship games. This guy kept the 49ers season afloat when Brock Purdy and some of their top receiving options got injured. This dude was still winning games with Mac Jones and his number 1 wide receiver being Kendrick Bourne. And yet we have the audacity to say that Kyle Shanahan's overrated, Kyle Shanahan's on the hot seat. You can't name me 5 coaches right now that have the resume that Kyle Shanahan has had with the 49ers over the past 6 years. Having a Super Bowl ring would be great for Kyle Shanahan. Now he will be in the same conversation as some of the all-time greats. But in spite of him not having a Super Bowl ring, he still is an elite coach. He still is one of the 5 best coaches in the game. And as far as all-time head coaches go, there's only about 3 or 4 other coaches that have coached in the 2020s that I'm taking over Kyle Shanahan. Ring culture makes people act like failing at the finish line means that you didn't build a championship level car. People act like not winning a ring completely diminishes all of the talent that you have. So I guess that any other backup, any other practice squad player that has a ring is better than Lamar Jackson. He's better than Joe Burrow. He's better than Josh Allen. Any other trash coach like a Mike McCarthy that has a ring, I guess he's better than Kyle Shanahan also because he has a ring and Kyle Shanahan doesn't, right? You cannot define how elite somebody is in the NFL, rather it be a quarterback, a head coach, or any other position, by how many rings they have on their finger. Winning a Super Bowl is a team accomplishment. You put Joe Burrow on the 2024 Philadelphia Eagles, they win the Super Bowl. You put Jalen Hurts on the 2021 Cincinnati Bengals, they do not make it to the Super Bowl because Jalen Hurts would have not been as effective behind the worst offensive line to ever make it to the Super Bowl since the 70s, like how Joe Burrow was. There's a lot more that goes into defining the greatness of a coach, of a quarterback, outside of this stupid behind toxic ring culture that people like to throw in your face. I would not argue with anybody that uses, well, who has more championships, who has more rings, because it's just a dumb argument. Rings are not the end-all be-all for who is the better player. I'm so tired of the toxicity of ring culture tarnishing how good, how talented certain players, certain coaches are because they don't have them. It's just stupid to me. It really is. There have been a lot of moves made today in the NFL, but there was a move that was made a few months ago that wasn't viewed in a very high regard. I think that the Buffalo Bills trading for DJ Moore is going to work out a lot better than what many people expected to. The Buffalo Bills, contrary to popular belief, did not trade for a declining wide receiver. Sure, production-wise, DJ Moore has declined a little bit, but it wasn't because he no longer is what he used to be. He's not declining physically. The guy is 28 years old. He still is in the peak of his career. DJ Moore's production diminished because, for one, the quarterback play out of Caleb Williams was very volatile, up and down. And then, two, he was stuck on a team that had a lot of talent in the passing game, from being deep at receiver, deep at tight end, very good running the football. There were a lot of mouths to feed on the Chicago Bears last season. And the season before that, in 2024, he had Shane Waldron as his head coach, and Caleb Williams just was completely out there looking like a deer with his head cut off during his rookie season. So that held back DJ Moore. DJ Moore going to the Buffalo Bills gives him the best quarterback that he has ever played with up to this point in his career. And you're also reuniting him with the same coach who helped get the most out of him during his peak years with the Carolina Panthers, when he had 3 consecutive seasons when he went for over 1,100 yards with Cam Newton, P.J. Walker, Teddy Bridgewater, Sam Darnold throwing him the football. So if DJ Moore can go for multiple 1,100-yard seasons despite not having consistency at quarterback with the Panthers, go for over 1,300 yards his first season in Chicago with Justin Fields, I feel like the best of DJ Moore is yet to come once we see him in Buffalo. I feel DJ Moore's career is going to take the same ascension as what Stephon Diggs' career did when he got traded from Minnesota to the Buffalo Bills. Remember, when Stephon Diggs got traded to the Bills, nobody viewed this dude as an all-pro level receiver. You viewed him as a good receiver, and then he ended up becoming a top 5 receiver for a good stretch. That was due to him being able to help elevate Josh Allen. And when Josh Allen finally became an elite quarterback and solidified himself as an elite quarterback, you saw that benefit Stephon Diggs' career as far as the statistics being at an all-time level, as far as his brand being at a household level. Because before Stephon Diggs got traded to the Bills, he wasn't a household name entirely. Then he starts snapping a few seasons on Buffalo, and now everybody's regarding him as a top 3, top 5 wide receiver. That's the same path that I can see DJ Moore taking with the Buffalo Bills. DJ Moore has always been, in my opinion, one of the most slept-on wide receivers in the NFL. He's not a name that is easily recognizable to a lot of casuals out there because you don't see a lot of DJ Moore. He's not playing in a lot of big games. Prior to last season, he wasn't really playing in any big games at all. The quarterback play wasn't really that good, so you didn't really have any reason to really keep up with DJ Moore. With DJ Moore being on a team that is a prime Super Bowl favorite in the AFC, a lot more people are going to start realizing just how good of a player DJ Moore is. He has been one of the best receivers after the catch since he's come into the league. You already have Khalil Shakir, who's one of the best yards after catch receivers in the league. Now you add DJ Moore to that. There's a lot of variety that Joe Brady can add to his play calling as far as how many screens he calls, how many underneath throws he likes to call, slants, drags, crossers. There are a lot of different ways to utilize a guy like DJ Moore. DJ Moore is also a very underrated deep threat because he's a very solid route runner. Joe Brady already knowing how to use DJ Moore, along with DJ Moore playing with the best quarterback he's played with and Josh Allen. You're going to see DJ Moore put up career numbers his next 2-3 years with the Buffalo Bills. I don't think DJ Moore has played his best football yet. He is 28 going on 29 years old. He's not washed. People treat 28, 29 like it's unk status in the NFL. With Josh Allen, you get better ball placement, more consistent passes that are not overthrown, underthrown in your proximity, like what was happening when he was in Chicago with Caleb Williams, with Justin Fields. Not only is he going to become Buffalo's true number 1 wide receiver, but he's going to become a top 10 or better wide receiver throughout these next 3-4 years with the Buffalo Bills. I keep reading a bunch of articles from ESPN saying that they gave up too much for a diminishing player. DJ Moore is not diminishing physically. His production diminished because the Bears had so much talent that you couldn't just target DJ Moore 8, 9, 10 times a game when you got a Rome Odunze, a Luther Burden, a Cole Kmet, a Colson Loveland, a Kyle Monangai, a DeAndre Swift at running back. There were too many mouths to feed to just make DJ Moore the focal point of the offense. Now, with DJ Moore not really competing for as many targets in Buffalo, he's going to be that guy that you consistently see put up 100 yards, 8, 9 catches every game. Maybe he ends up finishing the season with 13, maybe 14, 1,500 yards, 10, 11 touchdowns, because he's just a good all-around wide receiver. If I had a good comparison for DJ Moore, not in terms of a skill set comp, but just a player perception comp, I'll go T.Y. Hilton. T.Y. Hilton was underrated for years. Wasn't really a household name despite how productive he was. That's how I view DJ Moore. But when you play with a future Hall of Fame quarterback like what he is with Josh Allen, playing for Hall of Fame quarterback gives you a credibility boost. We knew Mike Evans was a dog for years. But once he got Tom Brady, now everybody started realizing just how good Mike Evans was. That's when more people started to put more respect on Mike Evans' name and his career. And I feel DJ Moore will end up being a lot better than what everybody expects him to be with the Buffalo Bills, considering this situation. Shout out to my guy, Sideline Scoop. He says, crazy day. Shout out to my guy, Just People Please. He says, good evening, everyone. Good evening to you all that are tuned in. If you're wondering why we went live 2 hours earlier than what we normally do, I'm trying to get in the habit of going live around 7 o'clock now, since it gives me a lot more time to get things out before the day ends, and it allows me to prep a lot faster for the following day's show. So we're going live now, or trying to go live at 7 o'clock on the dot, especially with the NBA Finals starting. They normally tip off around 7:30, 8:30, so I don't want to miss any of the NBA Finals this year. So that's why I decided to make the executive decision to start going live around 7 o'clock. I apologize if you were somebody who enjoyed the late night streams around 10, maybe sometimes 11 o'clock. I apologize, but it just allows me to get a lot more accomplished just going live a lot earlier. If you haven't already, give the JT Sports Podcast a 5-star review. If you don't want the starting quarterback for your favorite team to play like Jamarcus Russell, give us a 5-star review on Apple, Spotify. The links are down in the description below. Follow us at JT Sports _ is where you can find us on all social media platforms. You can find us on Instagram, X, and TikTok at JT Sports _ Go ahead, give us a follow there, especially on X. Sometimes it feels like I'm just tweeting to myself. Sometimes I feel like a little bit of a lunatic. I'm like, damn, I got 20,000 subscribers on YouTube, but I can't even get a single like at times when I post on X in certain situations. So go ahead, give your boy a follow at JT Sports _ is where you can find us on X, Instagram, and TikTok. Let's keep rolling along. The Minnesota Vikings quarterback competition already feels like it's been decided, even though we're so early into the offseason. OTAs have just ramped up, but the Minnesota Vikings had an interview involving both JJ McCarthy and Kyler Murray, who are competing for the starting quarterback job this season. Kyler Murray, he sounded like a guy who knew that this is his last opportunity to prove himself. He spoke about the quarterback situation as how you expect a veteran quarterback like Kyler Murray to speak on it. JJ McCarthy, on the other hand, completely shocked me. He sounded really entitled. He sounded a little bit defeated, honestly. The way that his body language was coming off, it just felt he's just at a point when he feels like he'd rather just get released rather than compete. Kind of reminds me of what happened with the Pittsburgh Steelers and Kenny Pickett. For those of you guys who don't know, I am a fan of the Pittsburgh Steelers, and I remember when it was announced to Kenny Pickett that they were going to be benching him in favor of Mason Rudolph for the rest of the season, then bringing in some competition for him in the offseason. Kenny Pickett said, I'm good off that. And it kind of shocked Mike Tomlin and the rest of the people in the Steelers organization, because nobody ever thought that Kenny Pickett would be somewhat of a low-character guy. And looking at J.J. McCarthy, the dude might have struggled his first year as the full-time starter, but you thought he was a high-character guy. You thought this dude was going to bringing in some competition, add some extra motivation, something that will put a chip on the shoulder, because it's not like Kyler Murray has automatically won the job. Obviously, they're paying him a veteran minimum deal. So if J.J. McCarthy goes out there and he's lighting that thing up, you can cut Kyler Murray, not really take that much of a huge cap penalty, and J.J. McCarthy can give you what you were wanting out of a rookie quarterback on the cheap deal, the cap flexibility. The Vikings want J.J. McCarthy to be good. They don't want to have to cut this dude before this season starts because Kyler Murray just embarrasses him in their quarterback battle, because you invested a top 10 pick into this dude, and it would do you more justice, and it would do you a bigger favor if he's good instead of Kyler Murray being good, because if Kyler Murray's good for you this season, then he's going to cash out on a big contract in the offseason. Obviously, with you making the mistake to not pay Sam Darnold, letting him walk, you're not going to want to repeat that same mistake with Kyler Murray. But if J.J. McCarthy's good, you still get to keep him on a team-friendly rookie contract, which maximizes your championship window. The whole reason why the Vikings drafted J.J. McCarthy in the top 10 was because they wanted the benefits that comes with what you can do from a roster construction standpoint with all of the cap flexibility you have, having a young quarterback on a rookie deal. But that plan got ruined since J.J. McCarthy hasn't been as good as what he was supposed to be. J.J. McCarthy sounds like he's feeling the pressure. He already feels like he's lost the job without publicly saying he's lost the job. It just gave me the vibe of a young quarterback that just knows his time with his current team is up. Kyler Murray, on the other hand, he didn't sound cocky. He didn't sound bashful. Sounds like a completely different quarterback from the one that we were all making fun of because he needed a stipulation in his contract extension about how much he could play the game, how much time he had to watch film. Kyler Murray is my pick to win Comeback Player of the Year this season. He's going to be this year's Sam Darnold. Kyler Murray is not trash. This dude's first 3 years in the league, he improved every single season. The Cardinals have been in the league for over 100 years and are one of the losingest franchises in NFL history. They've been to the playoffs 5 times out of the last 25 years. Kyler Murray was the last quarterback to take them to the postseason. And the last time Kyler Murray had the Cardinals in the playoffs during the first half of that season, we seem to forget he was the front runner for NFL MVP, and the Cardinals also at the time had the best record in the NFL. Now, ever since things went downhill in the second half of that season, Kyler Murray and the Cardinals just haven't been the same. But Kyler Murray, like Sam Darnold, early in their careers have shown promise. Kyler Murray has shown even more promise than what Sam Darnold did his early years with the Panthers and the Jets. This guy was a Pro Bowler. He was an MVP candidate for the first half of a season. So the talent is there. It's just a consistency from Kyler Murray isn't there week to week. And that's what happens when you play on the franchise as dysfunctional as what the Arizona Cardinals have been. Every time they release the NFL player report cards, when the players give their grades on the ownership, the franchise, the facilities, the coaches, the Arizona Cardinals are always one of the lowest graded teams. They are just not a good organization. Rumor has it that they're the only franchise in the league that makes their players pay for the catering that they have in the building. Don't know how legitimate that is, but that's just the word on the street. If that is, that shows you even more why the Arizona Cardinals have been such a crappy organization for over a century. So you put a guy like Kyler Murray that's already proven that he can play some high-level football on an unstable organization like the Arizona Cardinals, on the Minnesota Vikings, with a good supporting cast, an offensive-minded coach that knows what he's doing, and the organization that has some stability. Yeah, it's not far-fetched to expect for Kyler Murray to play his best football. We haven't seen Kyler Murray at his best yet. He was never playing his best football every year that he was with the Cardinals because the environment was never good enough to allow him to play his best football. You know how they say sometimes people can be a product of their environment? Same thing can happen with quarterbacks in the NFL. Look at what happened with Baker Mayfield and Sam Darnold. When they were on trash franchises, what did they look like? Garbage. They looked like they couldn't play. But when they went to some competent situations, all of a sudden they looked like competent quarterbacks. Prime example of being a product of your situation. Kyler Murray, on the other hand, in spite of how bad of an organization the Cardinals are, he's overachieved relative to how good a quarterback normally performs on a franchise like this. Kyler Murray has consistently given the Cardinals 23, 24 passing touchdowns with 3-4 rushing touchdowns to go along with that. We have not seen Kyler Murray ceiling in the NFL yet, like how we're about to see when he ends up playing for the Minnesota Vikings this year. If Kevin O'Connell revitalized Sam Darnold's career, he can revitalize Kyler Murray's career. Kyler Murray isn't damaged goods. He's not some washed-up trash quarterback. Kyler Murray can play. At his worst, he's an average top 15 quarterback. At his best, we don't know how good Kyler Murray is at his best. But if Kyler Murray, with having a great arm and is a very good athlete, puts it all together, you're looking at an alien. You're looking at a guy that's in the same tier or same category of quarterback as a Josh Allen, a Lamar, a Justin Herbert. You're talking about just an alien quarterback that when he's playing his best football, he can be completely unstoppable. He can take over a game. Kyler Murray can be like that. There's not a lot of quarterbacks from a physical standpoint that are as talented, as physically gifted as what Kyler Murray is. Minnesota is the best situation that Kyler Murray has ever been with, which is why he's my pick to win Comeback Player of the Year. This guy was a former Heisman Trophy winner, a former first overall pick, a former multi-time Pro Bowl selection, and was playing MVP football for the first half of the season when he led the Cardinals to the postseason. So you give this guy a better roster, a better organization with more stability, along with way better coaching. I expect Kyler Murray to win Comeback Player of the Year. I don't get why so many people think that Kyler Murray can't play. It's not going to work out in Minnesota. If it worked with Sam Darnold, it can work with Kyler Murray when Kyler Murray showed even more flashes of what he can be earlier on than what Sam Darnold did with the New York Jets. For the first time in 8 years, Odell Beckham Jr., OBJ, is coming back to put on that big blue uniform and suit up for another season in MetLife Stadium. The last time we saw OBJ playing for the New York Giants, it was 8 years ago. I was a freshman in high school, or I was a 8th grader in middle school. I don't remember where I was when we last saw OBJ suiting up for the New York Giants, but there was a lot of fun. And when you think about OBJ, you think about him playing for the New York Giants. So that's why bringing back OBJ, it's a nostalgia shot that a lot of New York Giants fans needed coming into the season. Despite having a new head coach, a proven head coach, a Super Bowl champion in John Harbaugh, the expectations are still pretty mild. You're not expecting to be a playoff team, but you're at least expecting to compete for a playoff spot. And you needed OBJ since you're ravaged with injuries at wide receiver. You don't know the status of Malik Nabers' recovery, if he's even going to be ready for week 1. Darius Slayton, he's on the mend. Gunnar Shesky just suffered a season-ending injury. And just right now, it's not really looking too good for the New York Giants wide receiver room, which is why it made a lot of sense to bring back OBJ. OBJ, though, is a better story than he is a solution, though. I understand why New York Giants fans are excited about OBJ coming back, but when you think of prime OBJ right now is nowhere close to what he was when he made that one-handed grab that turned him into a megastar. That version of OBJ hasn't existed in a very long time, and at this point, he's more so just a good 4th or 5th option and a good OG in the locker room to have around the younger guys like a Malachi Fields, a Malik Nabers. Think he is actually being a real difference maker on the field. The last time OBJ was making some plays was when he was with the Baltimore Ravens. And even when he was making some plays, when he showed a little bit of flash from the past, the dude was getting gas. He was getting hauled from behind despite being 20, 30 yards upfield. OBJ is 34 years old. I don't think that the Giants are going to get that much out of OBJ. I think that he's a good story. He gets you a little bit more excited for the season. He's going to put asses in the seats. But how successful the Giants offense is going to be this year, how good this wide receiving core looks like, is all going to depend on the health of Malik Nabers. Malik Nabers is already, to me, one of the 5 best receivers in the NFL. But without Malik Nabers, though, they don't have that go-to guy that can be instant offense when Jackson Dart gets in the jam. Now, you did sign Isaiah Likely, who I expect to be the second option in this passing attack. But outside of that, you know, your wide receiving core doesn't really look that good. You signed JuJu Smith-Schuster. You talk about flash from the past. JuJu Smith-Schuster, the last time I really remember JuJu Smith-Schuster was when he had that pass interference call that was called on James Bradbury on him in the Super Bowl that the Chiefs won over the Philadelphia Eagles the first time they played. Outside of that, I kind of forget that JuJu Smith-Schuster is still playing football. You got Darnell Mooney, who's a low-end, mid-tier wide receiver too. Braxton Berrios is more so a special teamer. So what they have at receiver right now, without Malik Nabers, is not saving this offense. I like OBJ, one of my favorite players of all time to watch, but he's not a real needle mover from a sense of he's going to make this team better. He's going to make it more appealing to watch. It's going to be fun watching the New York Giants late in the season. They're 6-8. They already got eliminated from playoff contention, but they got OBJ. It gives you a reason to tune in. It's just the nostalgia. It makes you feel like a kid again, seeing OBJ put on that number 13 New York Giants jersey again. It just feels like welcome back home, but I don't feel this is going to be the feel-good reunion that a lot of Giants fans are hoping that it could be. At least rational ones understand what this is. It's just a good locker room OG mentor to help John Harbaugh turn the culture around. Even if things aren't going great, you're not winning right out the gate, at least you have a guy, OBJ, that fans are still going to love, somebody that the locker room is still going to have a high morale around. I like OBJ. I like it for the nostalgia shot bringing him back. But from an improvement on the field standpoint, the Giants wide receiver room still is a huge concern going into the first month or the first day of June. Finally, the Patriots have traded for A.J. Brown. This is the news that we've been waiting months for. Every doggone day, man, there were conflicting reports about A.J. Brown. Was he going to be a New England Patriot? Was he going to get traded elsewhere? Was he going to get traded to the Rams? Was he going to be a Jacksonville Jaguar? Was he just going to remain a Philadelphia Eagle? There were some reports over the last week and a half that the Patriots organization were unwilling to part ways with a first-round pick in next year's draft to make this trade happen. And then all of a sudden, when the Myles Garrett trade news came out, soon following it was the A.J. Brown trade rumors that the Patriots have come together and they've all agreed that they're willing to give up whatever it took to make this A.J. Brown trade happen. And then a few later, after the Myles Garrett trade was finalized, lo and behold, A.J. Brown was finally on the move to Foxborough to make it official that he was going to be a New England Patriot. The Patriots, to me, didn't overpay for A.J. Brown. A.J. Brown was worth a first-round pick. Just because this guy's on the late end of 20 doesn't mean that he's already regressing. He didn't regress last season. If we're talking about what he did from a performance standpoint, his production dipped, not because the talent was diminishing, the physicality was diminishing. It was because, for one, they had a suck offensive coordinator in Kevin Patullo calling plays. And then two, Jalen Hurts and him just weren't on the same page anymore. A.J. Brown is still one of the best receivers in the league. A.J. Brown is a grown-ass man. You throw that thing up if you're Drake Maye, the A.J. Brown, he's coming down with that thing 9 times out of 10, no matter who's guarding him. Drake Maye also is going to benefit more his second season in Josh McDaniels' offense now that he has a receiver that he can fully use to take advantage of what he does best, which is throw the deep ball accurately. Drake Maye is the most beautiful deep ball thrower that I've ever seen. I think that he throws one of the best deep ball spirals in NFL history. That thing is pinpoint, on the money, accurate 99.9% of the time. So him throwing it to A.J. Brown is going to get better quarterback play out of Drake Maye than what he got these last few years from Jalen Hurts with the Philadelphia Eagles. And I know Eagles fans listening to this are going to say, oh, how dare you say that Drake Maye is better than Jalen Hurts? There's not a single NFL head coach, a single NFL general manager that would take Jalen Hurts over Drake Maye. I'm sorry. Jalen Hurts needed a super team to win a Super Bowl. Drake Maye took a team that was only expected to be a 10-win wildcard round exit to the Super Bowl. His best receiver was 32 years old, coming off an Achilles injury, and Stephon Diggs. So you give this brother A.J. Brown, both of them are going to do work. A.J. Brown probably ends up being an all-pro again. I see him having 1,400 receiving yards. Drake Maye probably ends up still being one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. And the Patriots offense benefits from the addition of A.J. Brown because now you get guys like Kayshon Boutte, Pop Douglas, Mac Hollins, cleaner looks. Now you have that alpha wide receiver one that can be instant offense when you get into a bind like how you were in the Super Bowl against Seattle. Nobody could get open. Drake Maye didn't even have time to throw the ball to guys when they were open. Now with A.J. Brown, it's like, okay, somebody has to be open. If not, I'm just finna chug that thing down to A.J. Brown. A.J. Brown is not a diva. Anybody gets frustrated when they're talented at what they do and the quarterback can't give them the football. A.J. Brown, it just is one of those things with the Philadelphia Eagles that the relationship with him and Jalen Hurts soured, and he just needed a fresh start. And he loves Mike Vrabel. Mike Vrabel is the best coach that he's ever played for. His words, not mine. One of his favorite coaches ever. Mike Vrabel never wanted to lose A.J. Brown when he was still coaching the Titans. We all remember the infamous video where they're live in the Titans war room after the A.J. Brown trade just got finalized, how Mike Vrabel had to get up, step outside, and take a breath. The brother was very angry about that. He loved A.J. Brown. It was like the second son to him. So now you link those guys back up. He's a perfect fit for the Patriots culture because he knows how Mike Vrabel is going to coach him, what to expect from him. He's not going to get any surprises. The Patriots finally got Drake Maye his alpha wide receiver 1, and they finally are going to allow everybody else to slide into easier roles. Romeo Doubs, him and A.J. Brown could be a very underrated wide receiver duo. I think now with him being the number 2 instead of maybe being the number 1, that'll allow him to have a little bit more production than what he would have had, because I view him as just a high-level wide receiver 2 than I do a 1. So A.J. Brown just improves everything for the Patriots offense, and he improves the Patriots ceiling as well. I can see the Patriots getting back to, at the bare minimum, at least the AFC Championship if everything goes right. Because a lot is getting made about how difficult the Patriots' schedule is going to be this season compared to what it was last season. There's a difference between playing a few good teams here and there and a bunch of trash teams, and then having to play 13 out of 17 teams this year that are good enough to be playoff caliber teams. This season, with the Patriots' schedule increasing in difficulty, they've also had to increase the talent of their roster to match up with the difficulty of their schedule from a week-to-week basis. By getting A.J. Brown, you ensure that your offensive ceiling is not going to be limited. If you're going up against a Seattle Seahawks or a Houston Texans style defense, at least you know that A.J. Brown can be the one dependable factor that can keep you in that game. He can be that instant offense for you. Josh McDaniels is going to do a better job at utilizing A.J. Brown than what Kevin Patullo did last season. I'm not worried about the decline in production from A.J. Brown, because the decline in his production wasn't on him. It wasn't because he was injured. It wasn't because physically he was diminishing. His production went down because Kevin Patullo and Jalen Hurts just weren't good. That's why Drake Maye's a better quarterback than Jalen Hurts. And Josh McDaniels is a better coordinator than Kevin Patullo. And to be quite honest with you, I believe Mike Vrabel is a better coach than Nick Sirianni. This is a win-win situation for the New England Patriots. It sucks to be an Eagles fan, but at least you got Mekhi Lemon. Mekhi Lemon is going to be a stud. But A.J. Brown to the Patriots, it's official. Patriots fans can celebrate because you've been waiting all offseason for this to happen. There were a lot of doubts that it was actually going to happen. Everybody's happy. One more thing I want to talk about before we get up on out of here. I'm not a delusional person, although some may call me delusional with what I'm about to say for the next 6-8 minutes. But hear me out. I'm not one of those people that normally get hyped up off OTA clips because that's not real football, no contact, no pass rush, no real pressure. But I'll be lying if I said Deshaun Watson doesn't look pretty damn good right now. He looks leaner. He's moving better. He's throwing the football with a lot of confidence. For the first time ever in Cleveland, Deshaun Watson actually looks like the player that we remember him being when he was still with the Houston Texans. Now, I know everybody's going to say, oh, it's just OTAs, how he's going to look when real football is being played, how he's going to look once you put those pads on. I understand that. But when it comes to movement and confidence, without pads, you can tell if a player is moving better than how he once was, if he has a lot more confidence than what he previously did. When I played football in high school and middle school, it didn't take too many practices to realize who the best players were, who the okay players were, and who were going to be the bench cut candidates. You don't need pads to realize who the really good football players are, because right out the gate, you can just tell with the way certain guys move, the way they just cut, the way they throw the football, you can tell that even without pass, they're going to be pretty good players. Deshaun Watson looks as good as he's ever had physically. You can tell when a quarterback just looks more comfortable in his body. Deshaun Watson before, when he was healthy in OTAs for the Browns under Kevin Stefanski, he looked big, he looked heavy, he looked stiff, and he looked very sluggish. This offseason, Deshaun Watson is moving, like really moving. And his movement matters because the old Deshaun Watson was at his best because he could create and extend plays. And I feel the Browns hired Todd Monken not to help develop Shedeur Sanders, but to give Deshaun Watson one last chance to prove that the Cleveland Browns weren't wrong to give up everything that they did to trade for him and to give him that mega extension that has now aged as one of the worst contract decisions in NFL history. I think that Todd Monken is the reason why Deshaun Watson could have the biggest comeback arc in NFL history. If you thought that Sam Darnold and Geno Smith's, Baker Mayfield's redemption arcs was something, we haven't seen anything yet. Because I want you guys to think about something. Deshaun Watson wasn't falling off like how Russell Wilson was when he got traded from the Seahawks to the Broncos. You could already see the regression from Russell Wilson. When Deshaun Watson got traded from Houston to Cleveland, this dude was still a perennial all-pro level quarterback. He was as good as any other quarterback was in the league at that time. Then he has the off-the-field issues. Then he has a few season-ending injuries, which just completely derailed the brother. And when you get suspended and you miss a good amount of time, this dude didn't play his first snap of football for Cleveland like a year and a half or two out of football. So when you miss that much time, you just can't pick up from where you started at. It's a difference between going a year without playing football and going nearly 2 years like how Deshaun Watson did without playing football. So, of course, it's going to take a little bit of time to get back into playing shape, get acclimated to, playing professional football again. And I don't think that Kevin Stefanski's scheme was conducive to Deshaun Watson playing good football, since it was completely different from what he was doing with the Houston Texans. Todd Monken is going to run a lot more concepts that are going to get Deshaun Watson back to what he was comfortable doing with the Houston Texans. Todd Monken has had success everywhere he's been offensively. He was successful calling plays for the Baltimore Ravens. He elevated Lamar Jackson's game to a level that we didn't even think was possible. The dude already won MVP. How much better can you get when you already won MVP? Or you can win your second MVP and throw for 40 touchdowns under 5 interceptions. And even when he was calling plays for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in the final year of Derek Carter, with Jameis Winston, that thing was cooking. And then when he was coaching college football, he took a 0-12 Southern Miss program to a conference championship and won it, had their offense rolling. Then he won back-to-back national championships with the mailman, Sir Stetson Bennett, who hasn't taken a single regular season snap in the NFL for the Rams. Todd Monken knows offense, and that's a huge green flag for the Cleveland Browns. Normally, when you hire a head coach that specializes in a particular area of the football, you want their resume to be extremely strong on that side of the ball. And Todd Monken, there's not another candidate that the Browns were interested in that was realistically considering taking this job that had a better track record, a better body of work, get the most out of the offense than Todd Monken. Todd Monken, I feel, could do the impossible and revive Deshaun Watson's career. This dude had the most random fall off in NFL history. We could see this dude have the most random comeback in NFL history. They have improved the offensive line. They've invested not just a lot of free agency moves into the offensive line, but they invested a good amount of their draft capital this year into the offensive line. The offensive line is going to be the biggest improvement with the Browns this year. You improved the wide receiver room. Running back was already good. You improved the play calling just by hiring Todd Monken. You're going to get better play calling from what you saw out of Kevin Stefanski. This is about closure for the Cleveland Browns. Deshaun Watson's fall off has been the craziest quarterback fall off in NFL history. He went from elite and Houston looking like the worst quarterbacks in football history with the Browns. But he has shown too many years of high-level quarterback play with the Houston Texans to believe that there's absolutely nothing left there. Todd Monken, if Deshaun Watson just has a little bit of that juice left from the player that he used to be with the Texans, Todd Monken can squeeze that thing out of him. This season is about the Browns finding out, can Todd Monken revive Deshaun Watson? And if not, it's officially over. And by the time we get to week 7, week 8, it's time to see what Todd Monken can do with Shedeur Sanders. But you can call me delusional. And a lot of people do call me delusional. I'm still not willing to write off Deshaun Watson. I still believe there has to be a little bit of that Deshaun Watson left from the Houston Texans still left in there somewhere in that body. This is it for this episode of the JT Sports Podcast. I appreciate you guys for tuning in. Smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, hit that bell icon if you're new so you do not miss when we drop new content. We're talking all things football, NFL, college football, 24/7, 365 days throughout the year. If you're a football junkie, you can't go there without getting your football fix. Make sure that you're subscribed. You got post notifications turned on so you can get your daily football fix. And one last time, you can find us on all social media platforms at JT Sports is where you can find us on Instagram, X, and TikTok. Remember, we are not just a YouTube channel. We are a podcast. We are trying to crack the top 100 of the Apple Football Podcast charts. If you don't want the starting quarterback for your favorite team to stink it up like Jamarcus Russell, give the JT Sports Podcast a 5-star review. And lastly, if you wake up in the middle of the night, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, you just have an itch to talk football, join the JT Sports Discord. We're trying to get that thing active. We're trying to talk football any kind of the day. So the link to it is down in the description below. I appreciate you guys for tuning in, and I will see you guys tomorrow.